fue quien gestionó para nosotros este espacio, los sorteos y todas las cosas que van a venir. Así que nada, démosle una cálida y que se haga sentir cómoda dentro de este espacio. Vamos a comenzar con una estructura de preguntas en la cual yo voy a estar haciendo consultas, vamos a estar debatiendo sobre diferentes temas dentro de Gas Hero. Si alguno tiene una pregunta, recuerdo, pueden usar acá abajo los comentarios del tweet para hacer alguna pregunta, lo que les interese. Y si es una pregunta interesante, la vamos a responder acá en el AMA. All right, maybe we'll just present your answer, but also explain the dynamic that we're going to approach here. We have questions. I'm going to ask a question in Spanish and English. You can answer. Then I will translate most of the answer. And if we receive interesting questions from the community here in the comments of the tweet, maybe at some point I will ask you one, or if I feel like there's a topic that's really interesting and we need to onboard, I will ask another question around it so you can always answer. What do you think? Should we go with the first question? Let's keep this
Yeah, absolutely. Let's keep this dynamic. I'm happy to answer any potential community question. This is actually is our first Spanish AMA anyway we participated. So happy to answer anything.
Okay, awesome. Este es el primer espacio en el que participan que está en español, así que vamos a darle con todo. All right. I will do the first question in Spanish and then I'll do it in English so you can answer. La primera pregunta, la primera pregunta que creo que todo el mundo va a querer saber es ¿qué es Gas Hero? ¿Sí? Que nos explique un poquito de dónde surgió el proyecto. All right. So I think the first question where you can kick this off that everybody wishes to know, for the ones that don't know what is Gas Hero, just explain us. What is it? How was born? What's the background behind it? A little bit of, okay, how you were born. Why did you decide to venture yourself into the world of gaming when you already have Steppen? I'm trying to think of what motivated you to come to this gamify industry.
Yeah. So it's like a very dense questions, but I'm going to answer that in two parts. First of all, I'll start with what Gas Hero is, and then I can explain why and how this project was born, because that was actually highly related to our experience running Steppen. So Gas Hero is a Web3 social and strategy game built on top of decentralized elements for people to compete for power, fame, wealth. There's like a impossible triangle, I'll explain later, under a tree-like world structure, which means like you start from the bottom, which is the user base, and then you go up to clan, to guild, to district, and to the city. So it's our second game, Web3 native game developed by Find Satoshi Lab after Steppen. And then it's expected to be launched towards the end of this year. So I would say like this game really places a much greater emphasis on game theories. And then like it offers in-depth strategies for people to play, to leverage, all the decentralized trading platforms to maximize the transparency of on-chain data and also allow people to have different types of strategies they can deploy inside a game. And then I would also say that it will introduce a highly participatory governance experience, which can allow like more in-depth like player involvement and engagement. Demian, I wonder, should I pause here and have you translate the first part, and I can talk about what came to our the motivation and reason we built this?
If you wish, yeah, I can translate your first answer.
I think it's easier
Okay.
because for audience to know there's no script for this here, so really he was just trying to translate this live. So I'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah, all the answers are authentic. We have nothing scripted. It's like we are going to be hopping from one topic to another as long as the feeling here takes us by. So, okay, I'll go ahead and translate your first answer. Ok, entonces, acá lo que nos comentó Mabel habla de que, bueno, Gas Hero es un juego Web3 social, está construido sobre cimientos en un mundo donde vos empezás desde lo más bajo hasta llegar a, digamos, mecánicas más complejas como lo que es Web3 social, lo que es construir una base, guilds, competencias entre otros clanes, etc. Si lo quieren ver como un ejemplo de un juego más de ese estilo metaverso, yo lo pondría parecido a lo que es Clash of Clans, esos juegos de estilos en los cuales creas bases y tenés que cumplir diferentes misiones o manejas, por así decirlo, una sociedad. Bueno, podríamos poner ese ejemplo. Yo creo que lo más interesante acá también es que es el segundo juego de Final Fantasy Labs, después de lo que es Steppen, y muy importante que está construido actualmente en lo que es más game theory. Cuando avancemos más en este espacio se van a dar cuenta de que mucha de la información aún no es pública, sino que la estamos haciendo pública a medida que pasa el tiempo. ¿Mm? Entonces con eso lo que buscan es lanzar el juego a fin de año. Un poco más llevado a lo que es la estrategia y por supuesto la transparencia de que toda esta información es on-chain. Y ya lo venimos hablando muchísimo en estos espacios de lo que es la importancia de on-chain y bueno, gobernanza, etcétera. You can go on, Mego. I just summarize your policy.
Yep. Sounds good. Yeah, I think the reason that we really built this is that we were thinking that like why people came to the Web3 space and played a game despite the challenges of UI UX, right? It's obviously that it's very obvious to us that quite a few people go to play the traditional game because they know, okay, I'm gonna get like very top notch, like triple A visual, or they're gonna be there to get like very thrilling experience after, like, you know, they can compete for how fast they click, you know, for those micro operation, right? Especially for the shooting games and stuff. But really, I would say if people are just for those, most of the Web3 games, including the ones that we can develop, cannot compete with the best in class traditional game. So why are people here? I think the answer lies at the fact that people are here to play strategies like within a system that was well designed. That was what we learned from working on Steppen. Like people like to be in a system which is well designed and they can decide on how they deploy their strategies in order to optimize for different things. But the big difference is that step in is like if you're playing as one user versus like as multiple users, you are not better off when you're playing as a group. There's no such thing called network effect. Versus Gas Hero really places an importance of group collaboration as well as like in-group competition, which means like you actually can have like a better experience working in a group. So like within the Gas Hero system, people are playing game theories against each other versus in Steppen, like the players are playing game theories against the system itself instead of against other people. So that's why I said Gas Hero really provide a place for people to really think about like how they can like, you know, deploy strategies in order to optimize for different things, whether that being power, being fame, being wealth. And I think at the end, like people in this Web3 space, they're interested in just thinking about like, you know, how I can play this game well enough to really to really show that I'm good at the strategies rather than like they have to spend a lot of time on the screen and then clicking, and then do the game. So that's why like when we were designing this game, we also try to optimize a lot of user experience to make sure that people are mostly just using their brains and then they don't have to spend on the screen for hours and hours. That's like too heavy for a lot of these Web3 native gamers. Please go ahead.
Wow, that was a very complex answer, and you open up a gate that I want to avoid once I translate this answer, because you talk about the AAA games and the classic gaming industry, and I have a position already made about that of the other games that we see in the space. I'm probably going to ask you a question on that, but
That's fine.
Let me summarize this because I think people will love to see your vision on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a ver. Vamos a simplificar un poco. Primero y principal, a ver, ¿por qué lo que MabelCap propone es por qué la gente viene a Web3 a jugar? Hagamos una diferenciación de lo que es el gaming clásico versus Web3. Mucha gente los juegos clásicos los juega, digamos, Web2, voy a poner ejemplos, Overwatch, Valorant, Counter, no sé, Dark Souls, God of War, porque son juegos en los cuales vos sabés con el gameplay que te vas a encontrar y la calidad gráfica y de desarrollo que hay detrás. A ver, esto es una lógica y esto es también una realidad. Muchos de los juegos Web3 no están a la altura de los juegos clásicos AAA, por un tema también de desarrollo y de tiempos. Esta industria avanza muy rápido y desarrollar un juego AAA en poco tiempo es prácticamente imposible. Entonces todos nos hacemos la pregunta de por qué la gente viene a Web3 sin dejar de mencionar que obviamente hay dinero, hay conceptos de ownership y lo que es blockchain. Pero ya hablando más a la parte de gaming. Acá Mabel propone que la gente viene a Web3 por los sistemas diseñados y por las oportunidades en las que vos puedes aplicar tus propias decisiones, lo que es el concepto de ownership. Lo hablamos infinita cantidad de veces en estos espacios. Y por eso, bueno, Gashiro prioriza un sistema más de juego en equipo donde vos puedas colaborar, a diferencia de lo que muy bien dijo que tiene razón en lo que es Steppen, que vos aplicás tu tiempo y tus estrategias contra el sistema. En realidad, acá lo que vas a hacer es aplicarlos contra otras personas. Es un poco también el concepto de multiplayer, o sea, no nos vamos a desviar demasiado. Y ellos pregonan por optimizar la experiencia del usuario, y esto también es algo que quizás a los grinders les guste o no, que no requieras tanto tiempo de estar delante de la pantalla, sino que dependa de tu habilidad el tiempo que vos tengas que invertir dentro del producto. Voy a hacer una pregunta ahora a Mabel, y la voy a decir primero en español, porque habló sobre lo que es la industria de juegos AAA, y yo quiero que nos explique por qué cree que los juegos Web3 no están a la altura de lo que es la industria AAA. Si es por tiempo, si es por desarrollo, o si es porque la industria de cripto avanza tan rápido que no le da tiempo a los desarrolladores de hacer un juego de calidad. Esta pregunta misma la voy a hacer en inglés ahora mismo. Mabel, I want to do a question because you talk about the permanent comparison that is between Web3 gaming and Web2 gaming, with classic games, AAA games, the high quality products that we see. Why do you think that Web3 games are not at the same level of the classic Web2 games? Is it because I have three factors that I think, but I want to ask you if you agree with me, or maybe if you see another aspect that differences both of them. I think it's because time, because money invested in, and also because this industry advances so damn fast that the studios, the companies don't even have time to produce a quality product before their technology ends up being obsolete. Like, what do you think on this? Why do you say that the Web3 is not comparable to Web2 in terms of quality, graphic quality, game quality, etc.?
Yeah, so I think I cannot say 100%. I'm sure there will be like game studios that are well capitalized enough to do this. But I think if we were talking about the way that the traditional games are produced, it's quite obvious that it will take a much longer period of time to see the results. And then not always people will like the investment of, after 3 or 5 years or even 7, 10 years for some of the Japanese studios to produce. If it's like a large company in traditional space, like they could probably say like, oh, if this 5 years of investment is not going to work out, that's fine. We still have other titles. But I think for most of the startups, it's just a little bit too risky. I think people here, they need a very fast feedback loop where you have very agile kind of development, and then you want to show people the update instantly, and then like your community will give you feedback and then you'll improve. Like that's basically how we kind of operate as Steppen as well. Like people have some feedback, we listen to part of them, not all obviously. If those are correct, we'll listen and then keep going. So it's not like, I wouldn't say like it's because like we are not competent. It's just that like if we were trying to compete for the strength of a lot of these traditional games, it's a bit harder. So instead, like we should actually emphasize on what are the things that can uniquely be completed by blockchain enabled games. And that's why we have those arguments. We think like based on blockchain, a lot of the things can be a lot more frictionless. Like people can actually for the first time in human history, like have some possibility to trade power, fame, and like money, like three different elements on the same medium, which is NFT, right? Like a lot of the things that you actually work within your game as labor, like whatever thing that you produces, at the end actually can be easily exchanged among the players. So that's like actually the best for people when they're playing game theories against each other, because essentially everything, that's representing your results can be actually exchanged with another player. So I think that's really interesting when it comes to like why we need to use blockchain. So I kind of reshape your question a little bit. I think it's not about like it's impossible to build, but we're just trying to, really compete for the strength, not for something that the traditional games are already really good at. And then like it will be much harder to compete with. I hope this answers.
It does, and also answers summarizes some questions that I've seen on the chat here while you were answering. Because I don't remember who was. I'm going to check because it is Mateus Elias that said that he loved the question and Web3 games should offer what Web2 games are not offering, and that's very similar to what you just answered here. It's the key that we have to battle the strength and compare with the things that classic gamers are not capable of, that we can do with the blockchain technology, and they have to adopt it if they even want to compete with us on that end. Maybe we don't have the strength to compete on graphic side or the the complexity of a traditional game, but we do have some capabilities that they don't. So we need to take advantage of those, not to just excel or to replace classic gaming, but to compete, as you just said.
I know we kind of like linger on this one for a little bit long, but I also wanted to emphasize, like, remember I mentioned the participatory governance experience. I think this is also highly related to blockchain enabled, uniquely enabled experience. So basically, like, kind of look at, I saw that you guys also promoted our Genesis hero design. That's like a perfect classic example of how we leverage blockchain to really offer interest alignment across all participants. Like, this is completely impossible in the traditional world space without the alignment of blockchain, because like we can basically just tell people that, oh, if you design these things and if you got chosen, then you would automatically be eligible for the royalty payments. So like think about it, if we expand that into the whole game. We actually talk about this in another AMA as well, but basically the idea is that there's a lot of other elements inside a game. Definitely not core economic design, but definitely something that, say, if for a city or maybe some other like interest images that you want to change, and then some of the users who are the key ruler of that organization they want to change, they can absolutely do that. I think that opens up a huge space for people to kind of participate in the game design experience as well. And I think that's quite interesting. And I think if we are talking about a triple A game, there's a lot of art styles that it's just impossible for them to really be compatible with what user designed. So then that also has certain limits. So I think like it's actually quite interesting that like how we decide on our game style versus like how we leverage the blockchain. I just want to add this one.
Okay, now I'm going to have the almost impossible challenge to translate.
I realized. Thank you.
But I'll do my best, because we on board is such an interesting topic that people that doesn't understand English needs to be aware of. But I'll try to summarize it in the most important aspects that we aborded here, and I think I can pull it off. Okay. Bueno, nos fuimos súper por las ramas, pero creo que de lo que fue mi pregunta, de si los juegos Web 2 están a la altura de lo que es Web 3 y viceversa, creo que tocamos dos puntos muy específicos. Primero, que los tiempos, que es casi imposible comparar un juego Web 3 con un Web 2, primero por tiempo, por desarrollo, por fondeo, y también porque los juegos Web 2 hay estructuras y hay tecnología que no tienen, que no aplican. Y Mabel dijo muy bien que nosotros lo que tenemos que hacer es fortalecernos en las tecnologías que los juegos Web 2 no tienen y competir en base a eso. No el simple hecho de decir, bueno, no podemos hacer un juego Web 2 AAA porque no tenemos la estructura, no tenemos el tiempo, porque la industria avanza demasiado rápido. Bueno, pero tenemos nuestras ventajas. Ya las hablamos 40 millones de veces. No hace falta que volvamos siempre a lo mismo de el ownership, bla, bla. Ya lo sabemos. Lo que importa acá es entender de cómo podemos destacar por sobre lo que es la industria actual y también competir. O sea, la gente tarde o temprano va a empezar a transicionar o se puede convivir con ambos modelos. No creo que sea una locura el hecho de decir, bueno, yo quiero ir a jugar un God of War, voy a jugar un God of War, o quiero probar Gas Hero, o quiero jugar Illuvium o algún otro juego Web3 conocido, que digamos, bueno, habrá formas o habrá diferentes espectros donde abordarlo. Pero bueno, es un poco para resumir la respuesta, porque fue tan larga que traducirlo por completo es prácticamente imposible, pero ojalá que se haya entendido el concepto de lo que queremos tocar acá con esta pregunta. Vamos entonces a pasar a la siguiente sección, porque ya hablamos un poco del background, hablamos un poco de dónde surgió, lo que es Steppen, Five Satoshi Labs, todo. Pasemos a hablar un poco ahora de lo que es historia, antes de entrar en la parte de gameplay y la parte económica. ¿Por qué? Porque la historia es muy importante para el desarrollo del juego, como explicó Mabel, en lo que es Game Theory, ¿sí? Entonces, mi pregunta va a ser, ¿cómo podemos describir el universo en el cual Gas Hero toma lugar, ¿sí? Si estuvieron leyendo el white paper, sabrán un poco, pero para la gente que no tuvo la chance, lo vamos a responder ahora. All right, Mabel, let's dive into the story of Gas Hero, talking a little bit about its background, where it comes from, and what can you find inside? Like, how would you describe the universe where Gas Hero takes place? Like, side of it, like, if you've thought of a first taste of the game once it's going to be ready, what can you offer to us on that end?
Yeah, so it's a post-apocalyptic world setting. I think people who have read the white paper already know. Who doesn't? I'll probably just provide a bit of more background about that. So really, I actually wanted to mention this as well. So a lot of us, including myself inside our team, we are a huge fan of the author of Three Body Problem. I think you guys probably know. So I think this whole setting was kind of got inspired from that. But basically, the idea is that in year of 2082, there's a lot of unprecedented technology improvement and everything, and then AI controlled the Earth. But because of anticipating these results, like back in 2025, not we, but basically the United Nations decided to have this Operation Spark in order to prepare for the potential extinction of human origins. So they have this whole operation called, like I said, Operation Spark, to create new human genes called the gas hero, and that's how the this whole name came about. And then because of that, there's after from 2025, but then the whole plan was hidden. It was only revealed after the whole human species was going to extinct. So then basically the setting was that the gas hero could, when they are getting outside and then getting under the radiance of AI, they will actually start to have their countdown of their life. So it's because of the radiance, like you won't have like a long period of lifespan. And that's how we introduce the setting of like all these heroes will have a lifespan because of that. And interestingly, because there's a few Genesis heroes where like you use them to always be able to get more new gas heroes, like these Genesis heroes are not going to die. This is like an important setting also within our worldview. So with that being said, I think the general question, the philosophical question that we are trying to ask is that, so will AI destroy? This is also like a social experiment for ourselves to see within this game. So is it, will AI destroy humanity or humanity destroy humanity? Right? Like that's like a really philosophical question. And obviously, we also try to ask, like, will humanity rebuild civilization, or like civilization rebuild humanity? This is like a very, very typical question that the Three Body Problem was trying to probe in that novel. So we were also using this game to kind of ask ourselves, ask our player, kind of think about like, should we believe in humanity or not? Like, should we believe that there's always hope for us? So I think this is a little bit more philosophical, but I think that's like what we were trying to offer based off what the game has. Long answer. Thanks for translation.
For this one, I cheated and I was like writing down notes because I knew that this was going to happen. So with notes, it would be very much easier for me to translate. But I got it all in my mind, so I'll go ahead. Bueno,
Cool.
el juego toma lugar en un mundo post-apocalíptico. Eso también lo dije yo en un principio y me lo repitió. Lean el white paper, está toda la información ahí. Y comentó que en el equipo son amigos de los escritores de Freedom of the Problem, que es un libro que yo honestamente no lo conocía, pero si alguno lo leyó, sabrá un poco a lo que se refiere. Y plantea un poco la dicotomía de que los avances tecnológicos llevan a que la inteligencia artificial termine controlando el mundo. No sé si alguno vio, bueno, Terminator o algunas otras películas donde la inteligencia artificial termina casi como autodestruyendo a la humanidad. Podríamos llevarlo por ese lado. Aunque comentó también que la ONU estaba preparada para esta ocasión con la operación Spark ahí, digamos, guardada bajo siete llaves, en las cuales lo que buscaban era crear nuevos genes humanos. Acá es donde nacen los héroes Génesis, que comentó que son inmortales, y esto ya lo pensemos a nivel gameplay después, son los que puedes usar para después conseguir tus nuevos Gas Heroes, pero como son como los más especiales, no mueren. Entonces eso como para tener en cuenta a futuro, cuando ya nos metamos más dentro de lo que es gameplay. Y a nivel filosófico, que esto es una pregunta muy piola, que a los que les guste la lectura, a los que les guste filósofos o pensadores de la época más antigua, si la inteligencia artificial va a destruir la humanidad o la humanidad va a ser quien se termine autodestruyendo. A ver, siempre nos hemos planteado eso en algún futuro. Se dice que el ser humano es el ser más autodestructivo del mundo, porque guerras, contaminación, etcétera. A ver, no nos vamos a meter mucho en lo que es la filosofía global, pero todos sabemos que tarde o temprano puede llegar a pasar. Y está bueno también concientizar un poco por ese lado a través de un juego que un poco te enseñe también o que te lleve a pensar y a teorizar y también a socializar. Por ahí también se sabe el concepto de, bueno, lo que dijimos en su momento, Web Free Social Game y Game Theory. Así que nada, me gusta también el onboarding que le llevó. Voy a hacer otra pregunta ahora, que va un poco más en línea con lo que ya es el gaming, y voy a tratar de sumariar y de mezclar dos preguntas en una, ¿sí? Lo que quiero saber es qué se pueden encontrar los jugadores una vez que ingresen al juego, cuando ya esté la primera versión, y también entender un poco en qué género, si llamámoslo a lo que es gaming clásico, entraría Gajiro. O sea, ¿qué tipo de juego es en ese sentido? ¿Dentro de qué género? All right. I'm going to mix up things a little bit, and I'm going to ask two questions in the same one, because I'm reading here the ones that I have in my mind, but I think that I can summarize this question in two parts. Like, number one, first of all, if I'm a new player, let's say that I want to play Gas Hero tomorrow once it's live, what will be my first impression, like my first taste once I join into the game? And add on to that question, I want to know what genre is Gas Hero? Like in the classic gaming genre, where we can fit it in to like compare to other games that are out there. Not to say that they are similar, but what kind of inspiration you bring from those other games to make it so. To summarize a little bit, what can I find in when I join in, and what is the genre of the game?
Yeah. Okay. Great questions. I actually wasn't sure you actually wanted to merge them, but I'll try to answer them in a more brief way. So when you really come into the game, there was going to be the new player onboarding process. Like really, what happened is that like you as a hero, you as a player, you'll have like some quote unquote half blood or like heroes with very little blood for you to go through. Like, so you basically will go through a lot of the experience of like learning how to use these heroes to fight, and then learning how to deploy your lineups of your heroes, etc., etc. So after all of these, so like you would be able to like collect a lot of the resources on this process of onboarding, right? Because you're fighting, you're actually like trying different things. But these are not tradable yet. These resources are still in your backpack. Once you complete all of these onboarding processes, you would actually need a whitelist, what we were providing now, like what we call the guaranteed whitelist or base construction vehicle for you to actually settle on top of the surface of Earth. That's like when you actually go into the game. And then, so like if you don't have this base construction vehicle, you won't be able to land. You won't be able to have a base. That's like basically the world structure that I mentioned at the beginning, right? Like you start with base and then you go up to clan and guild, district and city. So once you be able to land on, have a base, you would be able to start trading some of these resources that you just collected through the onboarding process. So I think I would say like the kind of to summarize, like we want to provide users the possibility to try it out before they have spent any money. So that's why we designed this onboarding process. And also it's a good way for them to familiarize themselves with the game. You can translate this and then I'll keep going with the game genre part.
Okay, I got it. Bueno, a ver, vos como jugador una vez que inicies vas a entrar en un proceso de onboarding, casi como una first user experience, un tutorial si se quiere llamar de esa manera, en el cual te van a dar héroes débiles, por así decirlo, no quiero usar la palabra débil porque es cosa muy fuerte, pero héroes simples, tipo básicos, en los cuales vas a poder probar en primera persona pequeñas experiencias del juego. Obviamente, juntando recursos, avanzando, etc. Recursos que en un principio no van a ser tradeables hasta que no completes todo el proceso de onboarding. Ahora, ¿qué pasa? Una vez que completas ese proceso, vas a necesitar un whitelist. Ese whitelist es una de las cosas que estamos sorteando hoy acá en este AMA, que cuando termine voy a anunciar a los ganadores, que van a salir dentro de la gente que cumplió los pasos en el tweet y están hoy acá escuchando. Con esa whitelist recién vas a poder crear tu primer vehículo que te va a permitir asentarte en la superficie de la Tierra y hacer base. Una vez que tenés la base, se podría decir que ya estás 100% dentro del juego y podés empezar a comerciar. ¿Por qué lo hacen de esta manera? Muy sencillo. Le dan una chance a los usuarios de poder probar el juego sin gastar dinero. Es una estrategia o un modelo de negocio que muchos juegos hoy en día adoptan, el free to play, play to earn en un futuro, aunque no me gusta mucho usar la palabra play to earn hoy en día, pero podríamos decir, y tampoco free to earn, porque a la larga vas a necesitar gastar siempre dinero en estos juegos para poder comenzar, aunque sea una pequeña parte en comprarte un primer NFT que te permite empezar a generar. Pero es importante tener esa noción de que vas a tener una primera experiencia para poder probar el juego y a partir de ahí recién, si te interesa, adentrarte más en lo que es invertir o ya buscar una forma en la cual te puedas desarrollar dentro. Creo que con eso redondeamos bien esta pregunta. Y ahora vamos a pasar a la siguiente, que es el género del juego. All right, go ahead with the genre one. I think we summarized this one pretty good.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. Yeah, the genre was actually very simple. So it's SLG, the simulate. People call it. There's like two ways of calling SLG. One is simulation game. The other one is strategy logistics game. So regardless, it's having a huge emphasis on simulating how the real world is like, and also like allowing people to deploy strategies. I think a big difference this compared to like a traditional SLG genre is that people actually do not have to operate the heroes to fight themselves. Like they actually, I think I never mentioned here, but all the battles inside a game are automatic. So all you need to do is focus on, thinking about the strategies of how you do all the lineups inside on your end, right? Like you think about the tanks, the damagers, damagers, or the support that you want to deploy inside your troop, and then you just let them fight automatically. You don't have to operate yourself. It's kind of like similar to a trading card game in that sense, but it's only for that part. Because like for trading card games like TCG, you also just kind of focus on, the strategies rather than operating the cards, right? So then I think another component that I want to emphasize is that the game itself has like a huge emphasis, especially as you keep climbing up the social ladder. Like the higher up you're going, the more emphasis is on how you operate the city or the organization, the district, whatever. So it's not about how much money you spend that's not going to work. Like you actually have to think about like how you run the city, just like in the game Monopoly, right? Like you think about the economic policies, you think about, you know, how you deal with the relationship with other like important players within your city or district so that they will vote for you in the future. All these votings are on chain, and you'll have to think about like how you make sure the supply and demand of your all the assets inside your city is balanced. So a lot of these is relevant to how many people will live in your city, in your district, and then directly related to how much income they can receive. So these governors can receive, because obviously the more people populate in a city, the higher GDP is. You can benefit more from that process, right? So I think in that sense, like there's also a huge component about like you know, the similar to the game Monopoly. So, but like the summarized question, like answer to the question is like this is a SLG game. Yeah.
Perfect. I'll go ahead and translate this one. Bueno, vamos a simplificarlo porque literalmente nos dio al final la respuesta. SLG, para la gente que no conozca, los juegos de lo que es una mezcla de lo que es base junto con Auto Battler, porque mencionó que cuando vos combatís contra otros personajes, tenés que más que nada preocuparte por el posicionamiento, de cómo pones tus tropas, soportes, tanques, infantería, etcétera. Y nada, es importante también tener en cuenta que como en todas bases, cuanta más población tengas, más te genera, etcétera. A veces es un poco la comparación con lo que fue el Monopoly al final, que bueno, tenés una ciudad más, digamos, grande, con más ingresos, obviamente vas a generar más, eso es un poco lógico, pero creo que a grandes rasgos entender un poco cuál es el funcionamiento y también, como comentamos antes en la pregunta anterior, creo que fue muy rica en cuanto a cómo es la primera experiencia, lo que la gente se va a encontrar cuando inicie el juego. Creo que hicimos una muy buena restricción. Voy a agarrar una pregunta del chat porque hablamos de lo que fue el ranking system y estoy viendo que una pregunta de Daniel Rojas que pregunta cómo va a ser el sistema de ranking dentro de Gas Hero. Se la voy a preguntar a Mabel, no sé si podrá darme una respuesta concreta, pero veremos. Mabel, I want to ask you a question that came here from one of our community members, Daniel Rojas, which is asking if you can explain the ranking system in Gas Hero, because you mentioned it's something a little bit over. But I don't know if you can go in depth with that or give us at least a brief explanation of how is it going to work.
I wasn't sure what ranking it means, but I think I'm assuming that you were talking about how you become like a leader of an organization. Yeah, I think we will have a better sense, but in like the part that we already revealed, say in the clan or in guilds, like you actually have PvE parts, right? It's not just PvP. So you have to kind of fight with some of the, like in different types of buildings and architectures inside the map in order to collect different types of resources. But really, like in order for you to become a leader, you have to think like you have to be the one that has the like the largest output of damage against the boss. That's like how you do the lower structure leader. But then later on, like for district and for city, you have to be voted. So then, like, it's about really social. Like, again, we have a very huge emphasis of social in this game. So it's not about like I said, how much, because like usually the more money one person spend, like you will be stronger, right, in terms of the resources that you have, and then you can have the largest amount of damage of output. But really, like that's not the emphasis for as you go higher up. You have to be strong enough in order to become a clan leader or guild leader. But if you want to become a district leader or a city leader, you have to be voted.
Okay, that I think summarizes pretty well. I will translate it. I also had the question myself. Like I also, when I read the question, it's like, oh, I want to know this too, because I don't. So it was also a great answer for me. Well, I will go ahead and translate. Esto es más simple de lo que parece. A nivel de lo que es ranking, podemos diferenciarlo en dos partes. Primero, en lo que la cantidad de recursos que vos puedas juntar, porque eso también te va a dar puntos, te va a dar un poco más de experiencia en ese sentido. Y a nivel social, que es algo que el juego se enfoca mucho en lo que es la interacción social dentro de clanes, dentro de ciudades, de distritos. A ver, el juego tiene un PvP, tiene PvP, pero también tiene un sistema PvE que te va a permitir subir de nivel, ¿sí? Obviamente para subir de nivel tenés que ser el que más daño haga. ¿sí? Pero no necesariamente el que más plata tenga va a ser el más importante, por así decirlo. Para ser líder, para ser de los más destacados, la gente te tiene que votar, ¿sí? Es por votación. Por eso se hace mucho énfasis en lo que es Web Free Social. La gente es la que decide, al fin y al cabo. Creo que eso responde más o menos la pregunta. Así que voy a avanzar con la siguiente pregunta, que esto es un poco lo que se está realizando hoy en día en Gas Hero y creo que a la mayoría le gustaría saber, porque no hay mucha información si van a leer el white paper. La información se está revelando de a poco, ¿sí? Entonces, me gustaría preguntarle a Mabel qué tipo de actividades están planeando para los próximos sneak peeks de contenido, ¿sí? Porque hasta el momento no hay demasiado revelado. A ver qué nos puede comentar. Mabel, this question is pretty interesting and it's from my own. You know that you're slowly releasing new content, new sneak peeks of not only the white paper, but also the activities that you're doing. I want to know what other kind of stuff or what kind of alpha you can give us here about the upcoming content that we're going to release within Gas Hero, white paper information, etc. Or at least tell us what other activities are you planning around those ones? What can we expect in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, sure, no problem. So I think we actually never discussed the timeline for this, so I wanted to talk about it too. So we started kind of this promotion from June, but really I think starting from started from August, like we started to do a monthly update of the white paper. So you can expect sometime between the 7th and 10th of every month, you'll get a new part of the white paper. So that's kind of the pace that we are releasing all the white parts of the white paper. Right now, we are going to release the white paper part 4 on that time range that I mentioned, sometime between 7th and 10th of September. So you'll expect that. So the most important part of the white paper are like the 4th, 5th, and 6th. So in the next 3 months. So definitely expect that. And I'd say like the basic game plan is already all revealed. Right, like the world structure that I just keep mentioning, the tree-like one, and also like how people are playing. It's always PvP, and then like the battles are automatic. So those are not like something we cannot talk about. But I would say a lot of the map, like how like different layers of the world look like, we haven't revealed yet. So we'll have that. But really, I think as you keep going to read the part 5, 6, and part 4, 5, and 6, you'll have a better understanding of like how it works when it comes to the governance of a higher level of world structure. Because if you're looking at the part 2, like you see how things are working in terms of the markets, in terms of how people collect resources, how people fight within clans, within guilds. But there's a lot more things related to how power dynamic is flowed. And also like the voting part, right? Like all of those will be revealed. So I think those are also super important. So definitely stay tuned. I would assume that you wanted to know about how we give away the some of the whitelists or heroes as well. But I can pause here for now, and then you can translate this first part first.
Okay, I will. Because there are more questions from what you just said, and they're coming right here in the chat.
We can talk about those first. We don't have to. Yeah. We can always talk about how we give away those later.
Okay. I'll translate this one and then we'll jump to that. Okay. Esta estrategia que están usando de revelar el wallpaper por partes arrancó en junio y se hace más o menos de actualizaciones mensuales. Actualmente tenemos de la primera parte hasta la tercera. Más o menos entre el 7 al 10 de septiembre se va a hacer pública la cuarta, donde ya nos dijo que las más importantes son la cuarta, quinta y sexta. Actualmente lo más básico, la estructura básica ya está revelada. Se puede ir a ver el white paper, después voy a dejar acá en el espacio, que me olvidé de hacerlo esto, puedo piñar tweets, voy a dejar piñado primero el tweet del sorteo para el que no participó, y segundo, el tweet donde explicamos un poco cómo funciona la mecánica básica y pueden ir a leer el white paper por si no lo tienen. Y por otro lado también, como dije, en este espacio vamos a estar sorteando héroes y whitelists, así que después vamos a charlar un poco cómo es ese sistema, pero creo que esta estrategia quiero que entiendan también cómo funciona y cómo buscan esto de ir constantemente revelando información para que la gente ya vaya teniendo un poco de idea de qué se está formando detrás, ¿sí? Um, Mabel, I'm going to ask a question because I'm reading it here in the chat. I want to bring it back up. First, I'm going to read it in Spanish, but I will let you know that I want to attack one question that a topic that we spoke before. I got it. It says, as a mayor of the city, you have to reward your people. How will be able to do that? ¿Cómo van a poder recompensar a la gente que es alcalde de una ciudad? If you can clarify to us that info, or I don't know if it's revealed yet, but what can we know about it?
You have to be creative about this. We don't have any restriction for that. Meaning that you can deal with your people yourself directly. I mean, obviously, I think right now we have all this blockchain. Like, that's all I can say for now. But, blockchain-based account system is very simple. If you really want to agree with someone with a deal, you probably won't want that to be transparent with others, right? This is a private deal between you as mayor and some really powerful people inside your city. So you can have private deals yourself. But the reality is that you want to make sure the most important people are aligned with you. So how do you align with them? How do you make sure that they, even if they are the richest person in the city, they will choose you as a mayor? That's a question for yourself, actually. We don't have any restriction to place.
Oh, I like that, huh? And that also aligns into the vision of blockchain overall. No restrictions, freedom. You can deal with your people however you wish. Like, if they elected you, how you will keep them entertained, or how will you keep them supporting you. I like that. I like the answer. I'll translate it. Muy simple igual esto, ¿eh? Si vos sos un alcalde, si vos sos alcalde en una ciudad, arreglate con tu gente como vos quieras. ¿Los querés recompensar de alguna forma o no querés hacer nada? Bueno, hacelo. Pero como toda democracia, te eligieron. Así que vos tendrás que saber cómo manejar a tu gente. Y eso también le da libertad a lo que es la blockchain. Al hacerlo un poco más simple, vos podés manejar a tu gente como gustes. No por nada, como digo, te eligieron a vos. Así que nada, fue una pregunta interesante, gracias al que la hizo, que la leí recién. Me gusta también abordar esos temas. Ok, próxima pregunta. Vamos a empezar ya un poco a hablar de lo que es Web3 Social y la parte económica. Lo que se sabe hasta el día de hoy, porque hablamos mucho de gameplay, pero no hablamos casi nada de economía, que es lo que a mucha gente también acá a veces le interesa, es un poco más su especialidad. Así que vamos con lo principal. Los usos del GMT en Gas Hero. Si saben y conocen Steppen, saben que su token de gobernanza es el GMT, el token Green Metaverse Token. Y va a estar dentro de Gas Hero. Solo que quiero saber es, ¿para qué? ¿Para qué lo vamos a usar? All right, this question, we're going to start talking about economy, or what we know about economy and Web3 social integration. And I think a great question to kick this off is about the token, about the GMT. I know it comes from the Steppen Metaverse. For whoever knows, the Green Metaverse token is the token of governance in Steppen. But I want to know what are the usages or the utilities that it's going to have inside Gas Hero. What's available to know, of course.
Yes, of course. So GMT is the only denominating currency inside Gas Hero. So everything inside the Gas Hero marketplace will be denominated by GMT. And then when people are spending, they're also spending GMT. When people are doing mint or some of the other things about like the resources, it's anything related to, like, say, upgrade or whatever, people will use GMT as well. More importantly, when people are voting, they are also using GMT. So that's one. The other thing is that's the only fungible token that we have inside Gas Hero. So that's like a big difference compared to Steppen. I kind of want to just kind of stay with these two because we did not really reveal how the consumption system look like. So I probably can't really reveal for now, but I think like whatever I said above are pretty sufficient for people to understand like what role GMT plays inside of this game.
That's cool. And if they want more information, what they should do? They should go and check the white paper once it's revealed.
No, it's not in the white. That's the reason I said I cannot say is because like some of the parts are not revealed in the white paper yet.
Oh, okay.
People can always talk every single time that we reveal a new part of the white paper, we'll do a summary. So people can always read that. But yeah.
But they will have to keep an eye until the date that it's going to be revealed. Ready for all the updates.
Yes, yes.
All right, I'm going to translate this one. Ok, lo que se puede saber, porque como mencionó Mabel, hay partes que no están reveladas aún, pero lo que sí podemos hablar de esto es que el GMT es la única moneda que se va a usar dentro de Gas Hero, tanto para transacciones en el marketplace, como para minteos, como también para votaciones. Como mencionamos antes, si vos querés votar por alguien, todo funciona en GMT. Y es el único token que va a estar dentro del metaverso, a diferencia de Steppen, que tiene el GST y el GMT, acá va a ser solamente GMT. Y como digo, si ustedes quieren más información, van a tener que estar atentos a lo que es la revelación de la información en el wallpaper, porque actualmente en las primeras 3 partes no se reveló. Así que hay que estar atentos. Pueden estar atentos a nuestras redes, que también lo vamos a estar cubriendo, o las redes oficiales de Gas Hero, cuando anuncien la próxima parte de lo que es el wallpaper. Bien, esta pregunta siempre es tricky, pero quiero hacerla. Si consideran a Gas Hero como un juego play to earn, que ya sabemos que cambió mucho esta denominación, y qué tipo de audiencias quieren atraer al juego. Usuarios cripto, web 2 gamers, inversores, no sé, gamers de web 3, a ver qué nos puede contestar. All right, this question is always tricky for everybody that passes here on our Twitter spaces, but I think it's a pretty important one to over because I want to see your vision on the first, on the play to earn slogan, because I want to know if you consider Gas Hero a play to earn game, and also what kind of audiences you would like to attract to the game, more on the growth side, like classic users, Web2 gamers, Web3 gamer, gamify scholars. I want to know what you think on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. So, first, I mean, I'll start with like whether this is like a play to earn game. It's really an interesting question because we usually don't define define a game simply as like a X to earn or whatever. Just because in this game, it depends on how you kind of what kind of thing you want to optimize for, right? In a real person's life, there's always something that you want to achieve, whether that being money, whether that being power, whether that being fame. So you can always earn something in that sense. But if you're just talking about monetary values, I think it's definitely not the only emphasis. Like people, a lot of them, they may not necessarily care about how much money they can make from the game, but rather they care about the kind of governing experience that they can gain. And obviously with power, how much money you can make, right? That's the question. But I don't think a lot of people, when they are like you're entering this game, they're thinking about, oh, I'm going to just treat this as a way I kind of get some cash every day. That's definitely not the intention. In terms of like what kind of audiences we want to attract, I think, again, asking the question, what type of humans we have in society, right? We have all kind of people. Some people are okay with just receiving some basic salaries and work every day. So what kind of role they were going to play inside a clan, inside a guild? How there might also be some people who do not just want to spend their whole life earning salaries. So they're going to try to leave a dash in the history. Like they're trying to become famous, become known inside community. How are they going to get that status if they're not the richest person? They don't have a lot of money to spend, but they are very smart. They have a lot of strategies, how they can play well inside this game. Another question, if you are someone who really know how to balance different people's social relationship, like then again, going back to the question, you want to become the leader, but then you're not the richest person. You're not the smartest person. How do you make sure these people stand with you, align with you? All of these questions are things that I wanted to raise back to the audience and have them think about it, because I think that answers the question of what kind of audiences we would like to attract, which I think is quite diverse, and it will be a lot of people. But more, okay, I know this is a little bit too philosophical. If we land back to how we are going to do our go-to-market, I definitely think we'll start from Web3 native audiences. Because while we do believe that attracting Web2 players are very important, I think you always want to serve and make sure that your core users start with understanding it and playing it first. And then it will gradually expand, just like how STEPN in the past have done. Like we were able to attract the Web3 native gamers at the beginning, and later on, because it become large, a lot more IPs and brands start to come to us and work with them. And then we made a name inside the Web3 players as well. So yeah, I want to pause here.
Awesome. I will go ahead and translate. Bueno, a ver, primero y principal, yo pregunté por si considera que es un juego play to earn y la respuesta fue no les gusta, o por lo menos no suelen definir a su y a otros juegos como un algo to earn, tratando un poco de corrernos de ese, digamos, estigma de to earn, que simplemente es para generar. A ver, depende. En la vida real siempre hay diferentes personas que tienen diferentes objetivos. Yo soy un gamer, por ejemplo, y quiero jugar un juego por diversión, lo juego por diversión. Yo soy un inversor e invierto para recuperar una porción en un determinado tiempo y para eso requiero jugar, jugaré. Pero hay que ver bien también el objetivo que tenga una persona. A veces no, a alguno no le importa cuánto genera un juego, otros jugarán por diversión, otros jugarán por guita. Esto es así y todos lo sabemos en lo que es cripto, cómo nos manejamos. No hay que ser caretas, sino prefiero que seamos transparentes en cómo vemos ese estigma. Y en lo que es audiencias, que también fue muy interesante, a ver, normalmente, y esto fue el final de la pregunta, pero voy a empezar acá, en su respuesta, al principio uno siempre trata de atraer Web3 natives, o sea, gente del ecosistema que ya conoce, ya quiere probar, o por lo menos está dentro. Eso es lo más fácil, en un go-to-market, decir, bueno, voy por la gente que ya está dentro de Web3. Excelente. Ahora, ponen el ejemplo de lo que fue STEPN, que todo el mundo entró, la gente clásica Web3, y una vez que la marca generó un nombre, pudieron traer otros IPs, que lo podemos traducir como otros espectros u otros núcleos de gente que viene de otros sectores, ¿sí? Que no es solamente Web3 Native. Pero bueno, hablamos un poco ya de lo que es a nivel filosófico, nos vamos a ir muy por las ramas, prefiero dejarlo ahí, pero creo que a nivel audiencias, a nivel de escribir el tipo de juego, creo que quedó bastante claro. Ahora voy a hacer dos preguntas más, después voy a leer preguntas del chat y vamos a cortar y hacer el sorteo para que no se extienda demasiado. Pero esto es una pregunta muy importante que quiero hacer, teniendo en cuenta el estado actual del proyecto, que se va revelando información de a poco, hay algunas competencias, pero no hay producto. Entonces, mi pregunta es, ¿cómo piensan o cómo planean formar una comunidad dedicada durante este periodo de early access, si queremos decirlo, o early pioneers, donde no hay producto, pero sí hay gente que empieza a apostar por lo que puede llegar a ser el producto? Entonces es muy interesante en tratar de entender qué estrategia van a llevar. All right. Just as I said, I'm going to do two more questions. Then I'm going to bring some community-made questions because there's a lot, and I don't think we can answer all of them, but we'll try to answer the most relevant ones. And then I think we can wrap it up with the final thoughts because there's a question here that we already answered, I've seen. But this one is really interesting. And I think you can give me your vision on what you are doing on this end, because I think it's something really important to avoid, considering the stage of the game right now, that we don't have product yet because we know potential release date, but we do have information. So how are you planning to form a dedicated community during this early pioneer adoption process? And I define it as early pioneer adoption process because we have information, we have promises, we can say, we have updates, but we don't have product yet. So I want to understand what would be your strategy to keep like the community active while they wait for the final product to be released.
Yeah, the reason we actually started off the promotion relatively early on is that we want to gradually release the information for people to digest. I think there's quite a few communities out there just kind of focus on getting whitelist and they ape and then they flip. That's definitely not the kind of communities that we want. We want to give the communities who really care about us the alpha, but the alpha is not about how they can make fast money. It's about how they can really thrive in the game. It will have to take time. They have to take time to understand and think about the strategies. So it's really kind of going through all of these AMAs like this one we run with you guys, and also really talking through a lot of the groups and really find the ones that care about the content, the potential strategies from the white paper. Even if, yes, sure, there's no products, there's no anything that people can play with yet. But as we keep releasing more information, there will be a lot more discussions about all the potential strategies people can really organize. And even you can already see in some of these East Asian countries, such as Japan, and also like the regions that speaks Chinese or Mandarin, like they actually started already the effort of forming guilds, forming clans. So I think we are expecting more regions as we keep activating different places, probably seeing people already organizing themselves, trying to team up, because it is going to be more beneficial for you to collaborate with your friends and then have like already formed up strategies up front and you land together as a group, because it means like you probably can collaborate better and then have a better strategy form when you're competing with other clans and other guilds, right? So there's a lot of other things that people can do. And also from our perspective, starting from next month, we are going to increase our like the strength, like the amount of whitelists and heroes that we start to distribute through different city pioneers, as well as through our Twitter and Discord. So I did mention like this in detail on my Twitter, but I'm happy to also like just provide a little bit more here, given that maybe many people are the first time hearing. So starting from like I think mid of next month, meaning September, we'll have a lot of Discord activities, including AMAs, alpha design workshops, and then also like there's pop-up daily, monthly, weekly quizzes for people to get like whitelists, normal heroes. And then obviously there's also like some raffle events and whatever. And we also will have like note is that like people can actually try to get Genesis Hero, which will not die from this core activities as well. So that's like super interesting. And on all of our Twitter, not just Gas Hero Twitter, but also Steppen Official, More Official, there's always also some channels for people to get whitelist and heroes as well. So like all of these activities are for us in order to really, kind of provide people with tasks to thoroughly understand the game. And then as they learn about a game, they can get some rewards. So we are going through this whole process of screening the right type of users for us to start off. Because we don't want this to be too speculative and too popular at the beginning. We want to have a gradual pace of growth as we keep going before the launch. So I think that's the strategies that we're deploying right now. Spending time with the community and then trying to find the right people.
Amazing. I really love the answer. I got all notes here because this will be a really important one to translate. I want people to understand why you are doing it this way, because I'm going to be 100% honest on what I thought that some of the Latin American community saw in the past, and now that might be very skeptical when it comes to seeing games that don't have a product yet. We saw a lot of like games that promise a lot of stuff and never deliver. So that's why we are really selective with the projects that we work with. But I think in this case, what you're telling us, and I like the transparency that you are not like offering stuff for people to start investing here, buy me stuff without anything already released. You're like doing it slowly with a lot of time, so people can, as you said, digest all the information that they are receiving, and with that in hand, they can have, once the game was already released, they can like have their first experience and then decide if they want to stay, they want to go further in, or they want just to leave. Like we're humans, we have free choice on that end. But I think it's a great go-to-market strategy, and I hope it works really well. People will see from our social medias the content that you're going to release on that end in Spanish, for all the community that is really interested in contributing to the project with their own efforts. But I will translate this one because this was just a reflection of my own. But I go ahead and translate the answer because I think it's a really great one to emphasize. Bueno. Primero y principal, lo que fue mi pregunta sobre la estrategia de lo que es go-to-market sin tener producto. A ver, la respuesta es simple. Ellos empezaron temprano para que la gente pueda digerir lentamente toda la información que van a revelar, ¿sí? Si vamos ahora, es obvio que no hay oferta de NFTs ni nada que puedas comprar, pero sí están buscando comunidades que realmente les importe la información y que les interese cómo avanza el juego, ¿sí? A lo que me refiero es compartir informaciones, gestionar amas, actividades, quizzes, trivias, cosas que actividades que inviten a la comunidad a ser parte. Así de sencillo. Obviamente siempre con la premisa de contribuir en mi ecosistema, que te importe mi juego, por lo menos hace teorías, participa, unite. Eso a la larga va a terminar siendo una ventaja para las comunidades que empiecen antes. ¿Por qué? Porque reciben alfa. Y esa alfa que reciben es información que después les puede servir mucho en el futuro para poder empezar de una forma más simple. Obviamente empezar con un equipo de amigos o con una guild o con alguien que ya esté metido es mucho más sencillo. Porque lo dijimos 20 veces ya, esto es un juego que requiere mucho trabajo en equipo, que requiere interacción social. Entonces colaborar entre todos va a ser más beneficioso que arrancar solo. Y como dato, a partir de septiembre del próximo mes, van a empezar las actividades como las nuestras, de sorteos, amas, trivias, para ganar premios, para ganar primeros héroes comunes, para ganar ese whitelist que les permita entrar al juego una vez que completen el First User Experience, y todo eso va a ser como el puntapié inicial para ya arrancar con todo preparándonos para fin de año, que es cuando va a salir el juego. Pero es importante tener en claro esa timeline para que nadie se haga, por así decirlo, ilusiones o busque o se impaciente sabiendo el estado actual en el que estamos. Lo voy a enfatizar y a recalcar varias veces para que después no vea mensajes de, che, esto está buenísimo, pero ¿cuándo sale? ¿Cuándo sale? Bueno, ya lo hablamos y es importante que todos tengan en cuenta eso. Próxima pregunta que voy a hacer, y dejé piñado acá en el espacio el tweet del sorteo, y también el tweet que acabo de dejar piñado, el segundo, es sobre el concurso que se hizo hace poco, que me gustaría, que acá es la pregunta que voy a hacer, que nos dé un poco de información de cómo fue, ganadores, premios, qué se les ofreció a la gente que creó ese art tan original que está en el tweet, porque creo que si aún está habilitado, si se larga un concurso más a futuro de esto, creo que a la mayoría les va a interesar participar. All right, I just mentioned about the audience, about the contest that you announced some of the winners last week. And I don't know if people is already aware of what happened there, but if you can give us a little bit info about winners, prizes, some benefits that were out there for people to be a little bit enthusiastic on what can be in the future if you release a new one, or if there are new entries to be received. That will be a really great topic to discuss here. So go ahead.
Just want to make sure I understood. You meant the Genesis Hero Design Contest,
Yes.
or
Yes,
okay,
exactly.
yeah, that's what I. Because like we always have these kind of AMAs and stuff, like we raffle the prizes out. I don't think that's what you're referring to. Oh, but by the way, I want to add like one small point to the previous question. We do not sell any assets before the game. All of these rewards, like the guaranteed whitelist, as well as the heroes, are given away. But people would have to use their proof of labor to earn that. They need to understand how the game works. But we are not selling them. We are not monetizing from it. That's another point that I wanted to add. But I'm sure you can translate later.
I think I mentioned it. Huh? I think I mentioned it in Spanish that you were not going to sell assets before the game was going to be launched.
Nice.
I tried to emphasize it because I saw that you didn't mention it, but I think that if I mention it myself, it will bring more transparency for the people that is listening here. That's a really important topic, and that's why I also set my speech before translating, because I had that idea in mind and I wanted people to feel it.
Okay, wow, that's awesome. I'm glad that you're even thinking better than I am. Thank you, appreciate this. So, okay, going back to the contest. So, a lot of people were asking us, like, what's the criteria, and then how can they kind of outcompete others from like all of these entries? Because as we can tell, the phase 2 competition, which is for the 16 code names hero design for the damagers, it's definitely very competitive, right? Like we are getting really high quality entries, and also obviously because people now can use all kind of AI tools, creation has not become a problem. And recently you've seen there's some like important feature upgrade in Midjourney, and then you can modify like by parts, so it makes it even easier. But I think what we are looking at or looking for is something that when you look at the design, you feel like, oh, this is smart, like this is witty, this is creative, like this is memorable. That is something that we would want to look for. Obviously, like, having an interesting background story is also important, but I think like the visual wise, right? Think about a player when they're buying the thing inside the marketplace. They want to see that thing is really special. I'll give an example. There's like a code name called Iron Lady in the last phase. And then the person who created that design actually just used actually an iron, like the iron that you use for the clothes, and then representing that. It was very, very smart, and then everyone thought it was funny, right? It was a joke, but then like it was kind of creative. No one thought of it. So that kind of design, not very hard, but stood out immediately. So like I think at the end it's all about being creative. Good looking, obviously, it can be quite important in some sense. But at the same time, I think because everyone is using AI tools and everything, if you're not drawing yourself, if you're not a designer, then having the right innovation point or creative point becomes super, super important. And that's how we kind of like get to the final results. But again, we appreciate everyone who participate. And then I think the reward, going back to the core question for that contest is that for people who got chosen, they will have like sharing from the 2 million GMT pool per designer. That's upfront. And like they will be able to claim that, claim those GMTs inside a game once the game starts. And on top of that, I think I mentioned this, people can collect perpetual royalty from that design contest. Whoever got chosen, they would be able to eligible for like 2% of the perpetual trading royalty for all the Genesis heroes. And because the Genesis heroes won't die, they can probably hopefully Gas Hero becomes successful, and then, that can be a large amount of money. Just think about like how Bored Ape, BAYC, like the 2.5% royalty, how much of those are. So I think that can be quite, attractive for a lot of people. Yep, I'm done.
Indeed, like it can be really attractive for like independent artists or for like normal users, as you said. With the AI, with all the upgrades that are seen right now in design, I've seen other contests that winners that use Midjourney, which is completely fair, of course, because it's a tool that's public, but also incentivize creativity. And I also agree with what you said that if you have like a super incredible design of a character that looks amazing, I mean, damn, I want to go buy it. Like, I want to have one. Particularly if it's exclusive or Genesis or, as you said, it won't die. I want to have it. I want to have one. So yeah, I agree that that's like the main focus here. I will translate this one, and then I'm going to read one or two questions from the community that might be of different topics. Let's see what we have there, and then we can wrap it up with the final thoughts on what's coming next, and I will also announce the winners of the giveaway.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Awesome. Bueno, ok, vamos a lo que es entonces el concurso. Yo dejé acá arriba piñado el tweet. Se anunciaron los ganadores de la primera fase de lo que es el Genesis Design. Dejamos 3 nomás en el coso, pero para que vean un poquito lo que son los diseños. La idea del concurso es incentivar un poco a la gente a que presente diseños impresionantes, increíbles, súper visuales. Es obvio que hoy en día hay muchas herramientas de inteligencia artificial que te ayudan, Midjourney, un montón de otras que incluso están en Discord, que te crean diseños espectaculares de un prompt muy sencillo. Pero bueno, eso también requiere esfuerzo y requiere también tener un poco de noción de qué es lo que vos querés pedirle al bot que te genere. Pero como digo, la idea de esto era buscar diseños creativos que incentiven a la gente en un futuro a decir, uy, este diseño está espectacular, me voy a comprar un Genesis de este héroe porque está hermoso. Algo tan simple como eso, después por supuesto tendrá su utilidad dentro del juego. Y lo más importante, premios. hay un pool de 2 millones de GMT, que el otro día hice la cuenta, el precio que estaba, creo que eran $50.000, si no me equivoco, y 2% de regalías perpetuas, o royalties, como quieran llamarle, de las ventas de ese NFT, de los trades dentro del marketplace. Y como los héroes Génesis no mueren, como dijo Mabel, si en el futuro Gas Hero le va bien, es una oportunidad muy lucrativa y muy interesante también para gente que por ahí tenga interés en participar. Vayan y vean el link que está en el tweet pineado acá del concurso, porque la fase 2, si no me equivoco, está abierta y creo que todavía pueden participar. Así que nada, ahí está para que puedan mandarle. Bueno, voy a leer un par de preguntas de la comunidad para darle bola un poco al chat, a ver cuáles son las más repetidas. Y después de 2 preguntitas, ya vamos a ir cortando. Voy a hacer el sorteo para anunciar a los ganadores y nada. Esta pregunta me interesa mucho, porque es a nivel gameplay. En Gas Hero, el jugador podrá elegir la ciudad y cambiarla cuando quiera. Qué buena pregunta esta. Mabel, this question looks really interesting from the chat that I have here. Can you change the city once you spawn in Gas Hero, or you are fixed like on the place where you set up base once you have like the vehicle?
Yeah, this question came very often. So the answer is like you can choose your city, but you can also let the system decide for you. Some people want a randomized experience, that's fine. But I think when it comes to, let's say you have a group, right? I think I mentioned that some of the Japanese or Chinese, they've already organized guilds. They probably will decide as a group, decide to land somewhere together. But that's completely up to you. You have the option to choose.
Oh, I like that one. Podés elegir, se puede elegir ciudad. Puedes elegir o puedes dejar que el sistema te randomice. Obviamente, si vas con un grupo, elegí la ciudad donde esté el resto. Eso también te lo hace bastante más sencillo. Voy a leer otra pregunta que a mí también acá me había gustado. Esto. Si van a especificar en el futuro white paper los beneficios del badge de Gas Hero. This is another question that seems interesting. Will you be specifying in the future white paper parts the benefits of the Gas Hero badge? This is an interesting one.
This is like something that people keep asking for. Yeah, like I think what we only mentioned in previous Discord discussion is that we will have a few waves of airdrops, but we haven't revealed anything about what exactly is coming out from the badges. But what we could mention is that like there will be a few different types of rewards, happening at different times, because technically badges are the first group of paid users for us. So they're very important for us too. And also obviously people who, these people are people who are already quite loyal to STEPN, otherwise they won't spend, the amount of input they had for Gas Hero badge. So we'll make sure that, they're rewarded properly.
Awesome. Sí, se va a anunciar y se van a asegurar de que la gente que apoyó al proyecto con el Gas Hero Badge se los recompense de forma apropiada. Un poco también para resumir. La última pregunta que voy a leer, esta también y me gusta, pregunta si Gas Hero solamente va a estar disponible en mobile, que me imagino que no creo, pero bueno, pregunto. Will Gas Hero be mobile only, or you will have a version for desktop, or maybe we can use it via emulator or something, just to know?
So it's, I actually wasn't sure this is something that we can reveal, but I think you could actually do it both way, meaning on mobile and on desktop. But the desktop version will still be like a mobile view, if that's helpful.
Yeah, it is. Sí, okay. Se va a poder poner en mobile, quizás también en navegador, pero el navegador va a ser como una especie de versión mobile dentro del desktop, o sea, no va a ser muy optimizado en ese sentido, pero bueno, sí, se va a poder. Okay, I'm going now to ask some final thoughts, first in Spanish, of course, but I want to let you know that we will try to close this with your view on what's coming up next, because once we finish this space, probably in the next couple of weeks, we will see some content on our end with some videos, with some reviews. Once you release the new part of the white paper, we will be covering it. But I want you to explain us What's coming up next in the short term? What can we expect in the next couple of weeks once we finish here? And
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead, answer that. Then I will translate it.
Oh no, I'm just saying that like I mentioned earlier on our Discord and also on our Twitter, there's gonna be a waves by waves of giveaways through different types of engaging events. And then on top of that, because we are releasing more content of the white paper, obviously people will know more.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll expand our recruitment of excuse me recruitment of city pioneers as we keep going. I think more importantly is that the important time stamp is mid-November. We'll have our beta test, so it's only like 2 months away, to be honest. And then end of December, we'll have our actual game. So in order for people to be eligible for the beta test, I think they should definitely be active in some of these engagement and events that are hosted by the city pioneers. So I think that's something we never mentioned specifically to external people, but definitely it's like people who have already shown their interest to be part of the game. And then they would be able to try out the beta. But obviously, the beta, we won't keep any of the results for the official launch. But think about if you have a sneak peek of how the game plays, you probably have a better advantage when it comes to the actual official game. So that's quite important.
Okay, awesome. I will translate this one. Bueno, pregunté por el tema de lo que se viene en futuro. Nos comentó que la beta testing va a ser a partir, si no me equivoco, de a mediados de noviembre y en diciembre va a lanzarse el juego. Pero también es importante tener en cuenta que va a haber muchos giveaways y muchos sorteos, por así decirlo, en los cuales la gente va a poder participar por premios parecidos a lo que vamos a sortear ahora. Es un poco como que ya empieza la parte más de, bueno, vamos a empezar a crear una comunidad, vamos a empezar a traer nuevos usuarios, que también es importante, por supuesto, y es una forma de generar impacto, pero tampoco me quiero extender demasiado en eso. Me gustaría ahora que Mabel nos dé unas palabras finales como para cerrar todo el espacio y que quede bien en claro qué es lo que estamos buscando y cómo creo yo que va a avanzar esto en lo que es la Hero. All right, Mabel, I think we can wrap this up with a final words from you where you can explain us like what was your experience here? Like, I know that it was the first time that you came in with a Spanish-speaking audience. Sometimes it can be very awkward when you're like asking a question and you have someone to translate and then another question. It can be made like uncomfortable at some point. But I think we made it up to work really well. But I want to know your experience here, what you think about the community, what you saw from the Spanish-speaking community in these last couple of weeks. Like, we didn't do that much yet, but the first impact that you saw from us.
Yeah, no. I think you guys are probably still the only Spanish community that we are working with. Like, I think what you have shown, at least from your work, I cannot speak for other communities because we haven't worked with them yet. But from what we've seen, obviously, it's about people who actually care about the games. Like, that's the type of the people we wanted to work with. Like these questions that you just ask or whatsoever, like those are actually people who would try to understand a game rather than just kind of care about the whitelist. So I think that's like super, super important. And I wanted to emphasize that I actually had, like, used to be sitting on your row. Like, I used to do a lot of these translation before Chinese and English. So I'm completely familiar with how the kind of vibe looks like. I actually appreciate that you guys doing this with us. I do hope that, because we didn't really have any like Spanish content in the past, like it's mostly English. So I think it's quite important for us to get some exposure here, because Spanish community is a really large population community. And then I think also in Steppen, there's quite some thoughtful players. So we want to make sure that we cover that. So I want to thank you for providing us this opportunity.
It was a pleasure. I'm pretty used to this like translation emails, but I like always the experience. sometimes you always learn something new when you're here, and it's always like great to hear vision of others that are here building the ecosystem as we are, with different visions, with different objectives, with different ways. Always, like, we are not always the same here. We all have different ways of onboarding our people to games, to our community. So it's always like nice to meet new people and understand how they're doing it. I love it.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Last but not least, I'm going to announce the winners because I already drew them while you were giving your last thoughts. So I'm going to announce them, and then we're going to also announce them in the socials once we finish. But yeah, the winners, los ganadores of the giveaway del sorteo son Naka 666777, 6777, Yomo underscore o guión bajo, como quiera decirle, Stepan, and Juez con J. Así que creo que ahí estamos. Después los voy a publicar igual. Pero nada, felicitaciones a los ganadores. Yo creo que acá podemos seguir cortando. I think we can wrap this up. What time is it there for you? I forgot to ask because I remember you woke up really early for this one, but I don't know if people knows what time is it there.
I woke up 5:30 a.m. this morning. Now it's 7:30 a.m. right now, which is, I think it's exact 12 hours, right?
Wow. Here it's like, I think it's 11 because here it's 8:30 p.m.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah. It's fine. It's around the clock. We have team members in North America, and then we have European colleagues and Asian colleagues. So like our North American colleagues, they always have to wake up like 5 a.m. or something.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. Crypto is super diverse. You met with people from all around the world, and when you work in companies, for me it's not the case because 100% of the people that we work in LATAM, we are from Argentina, so we are all here. But we had users and scholars and people that were from all the other continents. And at some point, it was hard to coordinate time zones, specifically with the European people from Spain. And when when I do meetings, I usually try to set up some sort of Asian time zone friendly for the people that I have to talk with. And I usually take the risk of doing the meetings at 11 p.m., midnight, because it's like, okay, let me stay up late because I'm already used to.
For sure. I remember that first time we calling. So, yep, crypto never sleeps. Always GM wherever you are.
Yeah. That's right. Okay, I think we can wrap this one up. Thank you for attending. Thank you for answering all the questions. I think it was a really great experience for people to understand a little bit more about Gas Hero, from what was revealed, from what is going to be revealed in the future, from what's coming up, and for the contest and all the guys that wanted to participate in the giveaway and all the other stuff that they're doing. Please, everybody, check out the socials of Gas Hero. Por favor, vean sus redes sociales. Check out all the things that they're doing, because this one is going to be a big one. And we are really early yet. So now is the time to be engaged. Never too late.
Never too late. Always start today. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Damian.
Yeah, thank you too. I hope we can see each other next time. And maybe we're going to do another day AMA in the future if we have more info to discuss or we have more updates to come. But for the first one, I like this one. I like it.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think for the future, I think by the time we release the 6 parts, we should have another one. It's going to be very dense at that point. Or even before the beta test, I think it will be quite helpful. But thank you so much for organizing this.
Yeah, I bet that for the beta test, there were a lot of people that would want to apply. So I think we have to figure out something for that, because there will be a lot of questions of how you can apply for that one.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you guys. Gracias a todos. See you soon. I'm going to finish it. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.